Hey, it's Scott from FamilyWheels.ca with another car review for your growing family, and this is the Infiniti Q60. However, it's not a normal Q60. You might notice these large dual exhaust tips back here, or this carbon fiber spoiler. No, this is the Infiniti Q60S I-Line Red Sport 400 all-wheel drive, which is a long way of saying that it is the highest performing, most desirable sports coupe that Infiniti make. It has 400 horsepower coming from a 3-liter twin-turbo V6. It handles like it's on rails thanks to its all-wheel drive, and let's be honest, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? But it's not exactly the most practical looking car, is it? But maybe you're a bit like me and you're thinking to yourself, what the heck? I want to drive what I want to drive, something fun, and I'm going to fit my lifestyle around that. So with that in mind, how would this car work when you get the kids, the pets, the groceries, all the weekend activities involved? Is the Q60 up to the task? Well, let's go find out. So the Q60, like I said, it represents Infiniti's efforts to maintain and keep a sports coupe in their lineup. Back in the mid-2000s, you may remember when Infiniti's G35 landed on the scene with a bang. It was a hot car, and a lot of people coveted it as a great example of what a luxury sports coupe should be. I actually remember seeing people who had removed the badges off that car and replaced them with ones that said Skyline as a nod to the classic Nissan sports car. Nissan, of course, being the parent brand to Infiniti. So, fast forward to 2014, and Infiniti have replaced the G Series with this, the Q60. It starts at 53,795 Canadian, with our test model here, the Red Sport, running a cool 68,540 Canadian as equipped out the door. There are 3 models of the Q60. There's the Luxe, which is the base model, the Sport, which is in the middle, and then this guy that we're driving, the top of the line, I-Line Red Sport. Here in Canada, all of them get all-wheel drive, but the lower 2 models get a less potent 300 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque coming from a 3-liter twin-turbo V6. As we mentioned earlier, the Red Sport keeps that 3-liter twin-turbo, but the power gets up to 400 ponies and 350 pound-feet. All 3 versions come with a 7-speed automatic transmission with manual shifting and downshift rev matching, though the Red Sport is the only one that gets you these cool looking red calipers. Infiniti say you can expect about 11 liters for 100 kilometers combined city and highway out of the Red Sport, but in our real world testing we found that number closer to 12.5 liters for 100 kilometers, which shakes out to just under 19 US miles per gallon, though let's be honest, it's a sport coupe and it's hard to keep your foot out of it. Now, admittedly, we did spend more time driving this car in sport mode than in eco mode, so it's probably safe to say that you could improve those numbers if you wanted to, but I mean, come on, do you really want to? I mean, if you're seriously considering buying a Q60 or any sport coupe for that matter, practicality is probably not one of the main reasons you're looking at a car like this. I mean, yeah, Infiniti have done some really cool things to make the car easier to live with on a day-to-day basis, and we'll get into some of those in a sec. But the reason you look at a car like this is because of how it drives. And to put it simply, this thing is a beast. Like I mentioned off the top, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.5 seconds. It's enough to scare the pants off of almost any passenger, and certainly leaves you with a smile every time you drive it. It's also grippy as heck thanks to some sticky 20-inch rubber and Infiniti's intelligent all-wheel drive, which monitors things like vehicle speed and grip and sends the power to the wheels that need it. What's even cooler is that when the conditions are ideal, the system knows it, and while it remains active, it sends all of the power to the rear wheels for what Infiniti call more responsive road performance, or what I like to call just more fun. Now, of course, we love a system like this because it makes it great to drive, but of course, this is family wheels, and we have to acknowledge that if I were to own a sports coupe, I don't think I could live with straight up rear wheel. A car like this would need to be my daily, and knowing that I have all-wheel drive gives me way more confidence no matter what the weather or road conditions, which of course is something that changes a lot here in Vancouver. When you have your family in the car, it is really great to know that all four wheels underneath you are turning and helping you to get where you need to go and ultimately keeping you safe. I think this system is a fantastic balance of what I need and what I want. Now, all of this said, there are a few things that left me wanting behind the wheel. I felt like the throttle response was a bit delayed, like noticeably so. Once the engine gets going, this thing is a bullet, but there is a bit of a noticeable lag between mashing the pedal and the car actually picking up. Now, you can shift it manually, which does help, but sometimes you just want to leave it in drive and tromp on the gas and feel the thing go. And I was a little bit disappointed in how long it took to actually feel that power. Now, I know it is a bit ridiculous to say you're disappointed in a car that has 400 horse and goes 0 to 100 kilometers in 4.5 seconds, but you know what I mean. On that note, as powerful and quick as this car is, it's not a hard thing to drive on a daily basis. Infiniti is, after all, a luxury brand, and that is definitely evident from the moment you get inside the car. The Q60 has selectable drive modes, including Sport, Sport Plus, Eco, and Snow. They, of course, make a difference in the ride and the performance, but if you just leave it in standard and go, it's perfectly fine and well-mannered. The pickup is still there when you want it, but the car is well-behaved and easy to drive, which, again, if this is going to be your daily driver, it goes a long way. The cockpit is sporty, and the seats are very supportive. We get 8-way power adjustment, plus power lumbar and torso bolsters, and when you set it up right, it feels like a racing seat that holds you in for the ride. But again, when you want to relax, the seats have you covered there too. I mean, just look at this white leather. Doesn't it just scream luxury to you? I know, it also screams stains and hard to clean, but it sure does look good, right? Okay, so you're in for a comfortable and enjoyable ride, but what about your passengers or the people in the back seat? Actually, surprisingly, it's really not that bad back there considering the size of the car. Obviously, there's not crazy room back there, but it's enough legroom for an average-sized adult on a short to medium-length trip. Well, the headroom, though, is another story. I'm 5'9", and yeah, my legs were okay, but I was right on the cusp of bumping my head on the rear window. Anyone taller would not be okay back here for long. Also of note, there's only 4 seats, no middle belt, so depending on the size of your camp, that might be a factor too. One of the things that I want to show you is how this car accesses the back seat, which is obviously an important thing if you have a 2-door coupe and a family. So up here is where there's a handle to pull the back of the seat forward, but then there's also a little button here that you push that's going to automatically move the seat forward, and then when you're done with it, it does the same thing. You put the seat back, hit the button again, and it slides the seat back automatically. Pretty cool feature. Sticking with the interior here, I also started to realize the car's limitations when it came to storage. This is an important thing for me, and I think it's becoming more and more a thing for family people as well. There's just so few places to put your things in here. There's 2 cup holders that work well enough, but beyond that, just not much. There's a little pocket in front of the shifter here, but it's definitely not big enough for a wallet or phone. You could use the armrest storage, but that's not huge either, and the same thing with the door panels, just too small. Now, I know it's a small car, but I have to believe there was a way to come up with something better than this. Like, how about a cutout divot or something in the top of the dash? It might not seem like a big deal, but people carry around a lot of stuff these days. You add in a couple of drinks and you're kinda at your max here. That said, I really do love this silver optic fiber trim. It's a bit different than the norm and it's a nice touch. Other nice touches with the Q60 include heated seats, though not vented or cooled, remote start, a Bose sound system, rain-sensing wipers, power tilt and telescoping steering wheel, which I love, but I will point out that I was just a bit disappointed by the number of USB ports. We just get the two that are under the armrest here and nothing for the back seat. Okay, standardized testing. As you might have expected, it's not exactly easy to fit a car seat in the back, but it is doable. Rear facing is a lot harder than forward facing, which is better. So with the car seat installed, we measured 25 inches from the back of the front passenger seat to the glove box, which is a tight fit for sure. Getting the seat in was actually not too hard thanks to the way the seats slide forward. It's not huge, but there's enough room to get the seat in, and once you have it in, we access the latch system back here via easy to remove covers, which of course we love. Standardized trunk test, the Q60 passes, but it got a little tight. We have a stroller, camera bag, diaper bag, 2 bags of groceries, and a soccer ball in here, and yeah, it's starting to get a bit cramped. You might be able to squeeze a little more, but that's about it. The trunk itself is 246 liters. On the road, the Q60 is acceptably loud. It's a sports car, and it does have a really nice exhaust note, so it's not like I'm disappointed by it or anything, but it does come in at 66 decibels at 100 kilometers on dry roads, which is a shade on the louder side. And of course, the look back test, yeah, it's great. A very noticeable car that really stands out. I got comments from people of all ages about it, including my neighbor, who's about as old as my dad, and a group of young kids who were all driving tuned imports. It's a good looker for sure, and it definitely gets a look back from me. Infotainment system was fine, not great, but not terrible either. Probably my biggest gripe about it is that the screen is difficult to read in the sunlight and it's just a magnet for fingerprints. Other than that, fairly standard. Bluetooth connection was good. It worked every time. Most of the navigation was okay. Touchscreen worked fine, and we also have some buttons on the side of the screen for dual zone climate control. There's also a control wheel here in the center console to get around the GPS and nav systems. There's also some shortcut buttons under the screen for audio, climate, and home. There's also a volume wheel here. And while I like how everything is nicely centered, I found this part of the system a bit awkward in how you have to reach around the shifter to get to it. Just seems like poor design to me. The steering wheel controls were no problem, well laid out and easy to navigate, and the dash is clean and easy to follow. So all in all, I think the Q60 is a really good example of what a luxury sports coupe should be, especially this one, the Red Sport. I mean, it's insanely fast and fun to drive, but it's also actually really manageable on a daily basis. So could it work for a family? Well, I guess it depends on the size of your family and how big the people you plan on transporting actually are, and of course how long the trips you're going to take are. I mean, it does have a few quirks and a few things that I would improve, but they're not really deal breakers for me. You know, they're actually kind of just manageable things. I would say the good really outweighs the bad here. I mean, yeah, it is expensive too, but I mean, it's definitely good at what it needs to be good at. And it definitely turns heads, which is a great thing too. I'd say if a sports coupe is in your future, the Q60 Red Sport definitely is worth a look. So if you enjoyed the video, give us a like or a subscribe and leave a comment. Would love to hear from you. For Family Wheels, I'm Scott.